All right, today is Monday, March 9th. It is 7:01 PM, and this is the Halifax Finance Committee. And we are being recorded by Area 58. Tonight on the agenda, we have budgets, discussions with Charlie on monies available for negotiations, reserve fund transfers, acceptance of minutes, correspondence, public participation, calendar, and as may arise. So I propose we hold the budget discussion for later because I prepared for the wrong topic in advance. So we'll go right to Charlie's.
Well, we need to go into executive session before we do that. So you might, and I know the public's not here.
Why would I do those reserves fund transfers first?
I mean, we can, whatever order you want. I mean, we just have to tell the camera guy to shut the camera off and stay there.
Okay. Any objection to doing all of this first and then move the budget discussion to executive session?
Well, not the budget.
The discussion with Charlie needs to go.
Yeah.
Oh, the discussion with Charlie.
Negotiations.
Negotiations, gotcha. Okay. All right, let's do reserve fund transfers. There's one here from Charlie. It would be for $5,000 for expenses specifically related to COVID-19 or coronavirus.
Yeah, I don't have a form because I wanted to talk to you all first about it. Was that we're obviously in a situation that on any given day, whether it's Matt Zerke or whether it's Scott or somebody or the fire police chiefs, if we need equipment, if we need supplies, they would like to make sure that they're going to have money available to do that. The board could always, the selectmen could always declare an emergency and spend without an appropriation, but at some point the bill comes due, not literally the bills always due, but in the sense of finding the money to balance off the emergency appropriation. Worst case scenario is that it ends up being taken off the top of the next setting of the tax rate. You know, some communities, for instance, if they do snow and ice and they under budget it and they don't have the money to cover it, well, they can deficit spend that, but eventually they've got to appropriate the money to balance it. So the choices are, I get at least some limited amount of money now in case either of them or either the chiefs need money, or I have the board declare an emergency and eventually at some point we have to appropriate the money or take it off the tax rate next October. And either way works, but it's nice knowing that I'd rather do it with the reserve fund because that way I know we've already appropriated the money. I don't have to worry about it next year.
What do we have in a reserve fund, Sandy?
$61,801.23 after you wrote the other one from Charlie tonight, so otherwise it's $871.23.
And if the money doesn't get spent, does it go back to the reserve or go to the general?
We can't return it to the reserve
I didn't think
fund
we
without a town meeting vote.
Yeah. So just
You know,
go.
we'll see
Yeah,
what
with the general.
comes either May 11th. We'll see where things stand with this. If it gets to the end of the year, then I would say it closes out, or do you?
Yeah, well, it depends,
Yeah.
all right? So if you're gonna do it, it's not going into a line item.
Right.
It would be set up as like an article, and it would stay in the fund unless the selectmen said to go ahead and close that article. It would not necessarily go right back to general fund. It could be held, Charlie, we have, unless you wanted to put it in something like the emergency management, you don't want to put it in anything else, you
No.
want to keep it separate.
Yeah, because I have a variety of departments where I need the money, and if it goes in the emergency management line item, but it disappears on June 30th, and I don't know how
Right.
long this situation is going to
That's the
last.
thing, we don't know that this is going away once the weather gets warmer, because it's not really like the flu in that way. It hasn't shown its colors yet, because it hasn't run a full year, so we don't know what's gonna happen. So then, a reserve fund transfer into an article that would stay separate until the selectmen say to go ahead and close the article, then it would go back into the general fund.
If you're agreeable, I'll just go over next door, type up the reserve fund and get signatures.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to what's the amount, Charlie?
Five.
I'll make a motion to approve $5,000 For,
Wait for the other one, I mean, we'll do the.
yeah, we'll do it in a second, to be taken from the reserve fund for the potential use to fight the coronavirus, COVID-19.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Opposed, nay? Okay. We have one more for the amount of $70, also reserve fund transfer request for the law account. The present balance in the account is 0. The amount requested will be used for the payment of bills to Lexis for an online legal database, and this is due to the costs associated with ongoing
It's a monthly
court
bill that we
cases.
do with Lexis. Instead, we stopped buying the books. We do everything online, which is a lot less expensive, but again, I run out of money, so every single bill. And I think I put a note in the box talking about, unfortunately, I just asked for $5,000 for COVID. I was thinking we could do a gross appropriation from the reserve fund to tie me over for, I'm hoping, a couple of months on the law account rather than coming in for each individual bill, because I'm hoping there's another reserve fund transfer in there.
Just the two.
You didn't put anything,
Why
there's
not?
anything
I have
else.
another bill outstanding, but I'll see you a little later.
I suggested to Charlie that he ask for a sum that would carry him to at least town meeting, which is.
Well, I don't know, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because we're talking February's bills, some of which I've already paid. You've actually approved one last week, or 2. I really-
2 last week.
2, yeah.
You would need-
I don't think more like 10. The problem, the reason.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but-
Do a reserve fund transfer for $10,000. That will cover bills, hopefully, through April. And that way,
Yes, you did.
he's not coming back here every meeting with reserve fund transfer for the bills that have come in that week, since we're meeting weekly.
My only concern with that approach is that we kind of lose perspective of how much is actually coming in as a board.
Do you want me to, I can provide you a
He can
report.
report it. And the thing is, if it goes into the law account, that money definitely goes back into the general fund at the end of the year, if there's money left over. But we don't anticipate that there'd be money left over. If it's anything like last year, it was every week he would have a reserve fund transfer request for 1 or 2 bills that had come in during that week. I just think it's more efficient. We know that the bills are coming in, we know that we've been needing the legal services, and we know there's 0 money in the account. In the past, we have done things like that before, where we knew there was no money in the account, so therefore we would try to put in enough, estimate what would it take to get through to the town meeting where they could, or till at least, like May 1st, he can start doing line item transfers up if there are lines that he can transfer from also. So if we could get enough money in there I just think it's so redundant to have him coming in every week for reserve fund transfer.
I'll entertain a motion for that, sure.
What's the amount?
10,000.
That was my suggestion, was 10,000.
If the board isn't willing to do that, I'm happy to do 5. We'll just see you a little bit sooner, that's all.
I'll make a motion to recommend for discussion purposes.
5 of the 10.
10, sorry, I'm gonna recommend 10. Reserve fund transfer.
Does make the most sense.
For a second.
Second.
Discussion? Just concerned with the amount.
Yeah, I'm concerned with the amount.
That would bring us down to, rough and tough,
I mean, there's a whole bunch of other
46.
stuff that I'm concerned about. It's like all of a sudden we have, what happens if we need more money with the COVID and all of a sudden we're just,
Well, the COVID, at least, I can go to emergency funding if
Yeah.
necessary. I can't do that with a law account.
right.
Off the top of your head, what did we spend in law so far this year?
We've spent a bit over 70.
Yeah, that's what I thought, I had 72. So that's about
What's funny is-
$1,200 a week.
Yeah, the bills just actually went down in the sense of the last bills I got from Larry, for instance, I think under $1,000, this thing to Michael Gilman, so. My concern still is gonna be the zoning stuff.
Yeah.
But we're also in contract negotiations.
Yes.
That will take,
Yeah, Michael will do this time.
the labor relations lawyers, so, I think it's reasonable. I just feel that doing it weekly like this, and as I said, in the past, we've tried to do it, and we've tried to estimate what they were going to need until the town meeting.
There's 445, there's 13 weeks in the second quarter, there's 2 weeks left in this one. It's 15 weeks, 52 from, it's 37, right? So it's about 2,000 a week is what you're spending on law. If you take the 72 and divide it by 52 minus the 15 weeks that remain.
A lot of money.
So 10 is, I think, reasonable to me. Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
I haven't decided. I'll go with yes.
Okay.
So let me get a reserve fund transfer done for that.
I don't think we did the actual
Yeah,
vote on the $70 one, though.
We
You
haven't
made the
voted.
motion, but you didn't do the vote.
Well, I don't know whether you
I
need
think
to
we
do the
don't need to do
$70
that.
one.
Wait, right,
You
we're
wanna
not
skip
gonna,
that
because
and
we're
go back to
gonna
this
do the
one?
10.
Okay.
Yeah, I get rid of that.
Yeah, basically what I was saying was amend that one to 10,000, but I don't know what he's.
Which is what he's going to do now anyway.
Right,
Right.
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so
So he'll send us 2 ones, which we voted on, we'll sign. That'll go away.
So it'll leave 46,801 in reserve fund. 23 cents.
I think it'll be 871 because now we did, the 70 was off, but now it won't be.
Right.
I'm gonna be probably a little bit more reluctant to take anything out of that account, but I'll do that right now.
Yeah. Okay. As we can do the acceptance of minutes, we'll wait for Charlie. Has everyone had a chance to review? Give you a few minutes.
Did we ever get an answer from Charlie on the, we were asking about the zoning rewrite? It was saying phase 1, what phase 1 actually entailed.
65,000.
Right, he was gonna go back and talk to her. I don't think we've got any answer on
Okay,
that.
because I noticed it when I was reading this,
Mm-hmm.
it just freaked him out.
Yeah.
And he was gonna check on that first.
When everyone's done reviewing, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Is that two of them?
Oh, that's 3 copies of each one. We'll fit it in a wall.
So did we make a motion to accept the 70 or recommend?
No, you started, you entertained the motion, then you stopped and then said,
Skip the 70.
yeah, and said 70 is now within the 10,000.
All right, so we have a reserve fund transfer here in the amount of $10,000 to be transferred to the law account. The present balance is 0. And this is for the payment of legal bills due to ongoing extraordinary costs for court cases. And I think we've already voted to recommend and accept, so we
We
just
have
need
a
to sign
building
it.
for the ZBA. Second floor, other side of the building, there's an elevator there, and there's a steering wheel all the way down.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Sorry, habit. Using whole dollars, no cents, I think that's okay. Using whole dollars, no cents on these, that's okay?
Absolutely.
That's the
Thank
law
you.
one. Missing a signature there.
True.
Thank you.
Okay.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
I have,
While those are being reviewed, is any correspondence?
We did not have any further.
Seeing none. Calendar, we've already got the calendar set through April, I believe, right?
yeah.
Right now we're on every Monday, unless
Yeah.
otherwise needed.
Okay, any reason to change that? Can everyone make the next meetings through
Mm-hmm,
April?
yeah.
Okay.
Do we have a plan up for each department yet? I know we have a lot of people coming in.
So, right now, the only ones we're still waiting for are the 4 that are supposed to come next week, the police, the fire, the highway, and the building maintenance.
Okay,
We don't have anybody else scheduled. Most of the departments either feel the need to meet, or their liaisons didn't feel the need to have them meet.
okay.
I don't
Do
think
we have
anything
any,
left.
I mean, I was just curious if there's sections on here that we want to ask departments about, so.
There may be.
Right. And just because they don't want to meet doesn't mean we don't want to
Right,
meet.
right. Well, and that's what most of them said. Most of them said if it was, I think you had it most in here, I don't know.
I
about-
did, yeah.
Right, and Melinda said the same thing. The police and the fire expected to be
I
called
mean, I
back.
assume that before we vote on schools, they will probably have, probably Gordon come in or something like that to talk about the schools. And I would assume that would be probably near the end of the month when we're getting closer to finalizing those.
I did reach out to Christine on that whole Title I.
Yeah.
So last meeting, what was last meeting, right?
Yeah.
Gordon came in and told us that
Yes.
the school budget, the elementary school budget was
For
going for
$30,000 for
$30,000.
Title I math. teachers.
Because Title I had cut funds, and they wanted to keep the math tutor, so it was,
Yeah.
so I reached out to Christine just to find out if we could figure out why. And evidently, the
Why would they
eligibility
take the money
of,
away?
we don't, not as many people in town are eligible for Title I funds.
Right.
So that was one of the reasons why it was cut.
Right.
And the federal government is cutting back on money
Right.
that they're sending out.
Yeah.
So, because of those two things, that was the reason. And they wanted to keep the math tutor. She said in the past, over the last couple of years, they have been cutting funds, but they had enough money to cover the math, to cover the three. We
Yeah.
only have 3 tutors in there. One is a math tutor, I guess the other a different.
Yeah, I understand all that. Well, Gordon just mentioned that they were still working on it, that wasn't the final number.
Right.
That's the question I
Yeah.
have basically is when we get closer to the end of the month, when we need a final number to vote on,
Yeah.
are we gonna have a representative from the schools to come in to answer any of the questions that we have when we go through the line items for the
Right.
school budget?
Christine did say that they haven't had one student from Halifax apply to vocational.
Well, That's good.
So it would mean that our number isn't going up,
Yeah.
which is good. So, other than that, that's what she had mentioned to me.
I think,
Do you want me to reach out to somebody from Silver Lake School Committee and?
well, I'm just saying, we probably want to talk to somebody nearer the end
think
of the
so.
month,
Yeah, if
right?
we've got
Yeah.
questions, we could have someone here to answer
Yeah,
them.
Maybe maybe on the 30th?
that's what I was thinking.
I think on the,
Because those are gonna be the last, I mean, are we gonna have wage information before April
the
1st?
23rd, I was just gonna
Okay.
say that is the one thing, that's what Melinda said she thought they'd be presenting for the 23rd, so I think, is that right before the warrant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so I
We
think she
usually
was,
try to get,
First week of April.
yeah.
yeah, so I think
Right,
Melinda
so-
said she was trying to bring in their recommendations on the
Right.
23rd, she had me rough
Okay,
that one in.
because that way we could try to wrap everything up by the 30th, so
Well, in
that,
fact, their last meeting is the hour before the meeting on the 23rd.
okay.
So I actually may be traveling that week, but I can call, if there's quorum, I can call in that 23rd.
Okay.
Obviously, if I'm not traveling, I'll be here.
If not, I guess it'll be, and we don't get quorum on next meeting.
Travel's getting scrutiny, obviously, because of the virus. So
Obviously.
There's a good probability of canceling. Acceptance of minutes. We there yet?
Yes,
Yeah.
I make motion that we accept minutes from March 2nd.
Second that motion?
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? I abstain.
Right. That's that.
Did you go over the capital items?
I did, I just presented them all. I didn't, they didn't talk about recommendations or anything. I sort of gave them a rundown of the articles.
I presume that was last week, because I don't recall the discussion.
Yes.
I remember
Yes, it was.
participating in capital planning, so
Yeah.
from what everyone's heard, does anyone want to go ahead and start voting on a few of these, or?
Sure.
Okay. What's the gray mean, Sandy?
You what?
The gray highlight?
Mine doesn't.
Yours isn't gray?
Oh, you just copied mine, right? Right here, you just copied mine.
Yeah. Those are just, I was double checking all the figures and that was just,
Okay.
Highlighted.
yeah.
All right, I guess we'll start at the top then. We have a revolving funds article for $75,000.
That's our standard one, right? That we do every year.
Is that the right line? I'm sorry.
No, that's the reserve
I'm
fund.
blind as a bat. Let me get my, reserve fund for $75,000.
Right, and that reserve
Article
fund
six.
article is 75,000 for general fund and 50,000 for water.
Okay.
And that is standard, that's what we usually do every year.
Yep. I'll entertain a motion for Article 6, reserve fund for $75,000.
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 6 reserve fund for $75,000.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay. We have Article 14, Plymouth County Extension Service, amount of $150.
Is that again? Is that what we do every year?
Plymouth County Extension Service, that's where the kids go to 4-H through that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We have a representative in.
Now I remember. Okay.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 14 Plymouth County Extension Services in the amount of $150.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Article A3, road maintenance for $150,000. That's also a standard yearly number.
Yeah.
So I'll entertain a motion for Article A3.
I'll make a motion to recommend A3 road maintenance in the amount of $150,000.
Second.
Can I, before, discussion on
Yep.
that?
Yes.
That article, the capital planning committee really wanted to increase, but because of other articles, we weren't able to increase that figure.
Right.
But we'd like to possibly call it for reconsideration at the end, after all the other articles have been called. If there's money left over in free cash, we'd like to put it towards road maintenance.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Article A4 to complete reconstruction of Hayward Wood River and Paradise Streets, 4.9 miles, in the amount of $7,160,175.
I have an amendment to that line. I'm sorry, Steve came in with the figure again. He had doubled something he wasn't supposed to. The number should be $6,670,125.
$6,670,125.
Yes.
And anything for that, at this point, this is the big road, okay?
Yes.
I mean, it's gonna have to be a debt exclusion. It can't be funded within the confines of Prop 2.5. So if an article's gonna go forward to town meeting to appropriate the money, we'll need to work with bond council, get the wording correct. We'll also have, the board of selectmen's also gonna have to place it on the town meeting election ballot along with the town meeting vote. So it'd be some, blah, blah, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate transfer of available funds that sum, and then, and also allow for borrowing, but all this is contingent upon the debt exclusion vote at the town election on May 16th. I mean, we're talking, what was it 15 years? They said it was
15 years.
So we're talking, even at 3%, we're talking something between $600,000 and $700,000 for the first year payment. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, those are the actual, just the numbers.
Now, if we were to do it,
Yeah,
this is a lot of assumptions, Charlie,
yes.
okay?
Oh, yeah.
Let's say we do it. Let's say that Buds goes into that facility down on River Street and Wood Street. Can you take the money to pay for road services when you've already paid the
No,
money?
because the idea
Right.
is that the money, if we get any money from Buds, it has to be related to the expense
Right.
due to Buds. If
Correct.
we're already doing the road, even
Right.
if Buds doesn't go in, then it can't be.
That's my concern, why I was suggesting that we not vote no on this, because I'm kind of, I'd like to take the wait and see approach as to whether or not we can get a company to pay for part of that.
I will say that the way right now, the House passed much more stringent legislation, I believe,
I know.
last week, which it'll be interesting to see how it gets really interpreted, but more and more concerned that, not that we won't see a dime, but in terms of the community impact fee, we may not see anything of a material amount because we won't have any material
Right.
expense.
Well, see, my argument would be, well, if you're putting a facility at the intersection of River and Wood, where you have employees driving on River and Wood, that to me is an impact that you could at least take the money and repair River and Wood.
Yeah.
Not the other two, but obviously,
Right, but
those two would qualify.
But the thing is, I'm making this up, it's, how many miles of road? Is it
11, 12.
11? So, okay, so we're talking, let's just say roughly $500,000 a mile.
Yeah, well, I know River Street is 1.97 million, because I saw the number.
Well, this is this.
Yeah.
Okay, so we start off with that. How much are those employees contributing to the traffic?
Right.
You know, it's the same situation we're dealing with, not that we're there
Yeah.
yet, because we haven't had the hearing, but the 30-unit Country Club Estates, there's 17,000 cars
Yeah,
that go by that location.
yeah.
There are 30, let's say there's 70 cars, they get, I don't know, 180, 200.
Right, but my argument is you're also gonna have trucks going in to build the
Yeah, I
facility,
understand.
so they're gonna wear down that road a lot.
I understand, but
Yes, so again, yeah, you're not gonna get $7 million, clearly. But if you got 200 or 300,000,
But I'm not, well, but my point is, I don't know that we could really, I don't know that we could point at the cost, if we weren't doing the road,
right,
and suddenly they came in and we said, we've got to do the road only because of Bud's,
yeah,
maybe we could justify the 200 or 300, but I don't think Bud's costs are 200 or 300, in the sense of the work that they're going to do there, their trips, are going to be cost us 200 or 300,000.
right. I just keep coming back to, like, there's a possibility of getting even a small amount back as part of the community impact fee. So why would I want to spend all that money now when I might actually be able to get a little bit back from another company? Because we could, if we don't, fine, we address it next year.
Exactly.
Well, the possibilities, I don't even know if,
Right, or,
I don't know if Steve's prepared to do all the work
Right.
this coming summer. I don't, because
Yeah.
if he's doing a reconstruction, that's.
yeah, it's for reconstructions, yeah.
Yeah, it's not just a paving job.
Right, I mean, if you want to sit there and make an argument on the 2 million to repair all the, 11 miles of road through the town, hey, I'm sure,
That's fine.
sure, but $7 million for 4 roads, and what's the impact to the property tax of that? Pretty significant,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's a little less than 5%. But
So,
not much.
I just
But
keep coming back, even if I could take
let's call it
a
4%.
fraction of that
Just by
off.
itself would be a 4% increase in the tax rate for that one.
Yeah,
I can't remember if I entertained a motion, so I'll do it again. I'll entertain a motion on Article A4. None, huh? Okay. Table till next week, do we have all 5?
well, I mean, I can make the motion and then we can vote on it. I have no problem with that. I'll make a motion to recommend Article 5, there's a 4, Article 4, for A4 for the complete reconstruction of Haywood Wood River and Paradise for the amount of $6,670,125. So I'll make the recommendation for discussion.
We have a recommendation, do we have a second? I'll second the motion. All those in favor? Or any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain.
Next one's Article A5, maintenance and refurbishing of 11.58 miles of town roads in the amount of $2 million.
Would this also be a debt exclusion?
Yeah,
Would also be a
Yeah,
debt
I mean,
exclusion.
we're tight enough.
Mhm.
I mean, if you want to approve all the things that people are asking for, and we want to approve a material amount for increases in wages and salaries, and still leave the 300 there, which I really am going to recommend even more strongly, knowing Silver Lake's coming down the line in 2 or 3 years with an increase in the operating, on our side of the operating budget. There isn't room, even at $2 million, if we're doing, this is another 15-year, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we're talking, what is it, so 130, something like that. Plus
Actually, I can find out.
60. So let's call it a couple $100,000 for the heck of it. We don't have a couple $100,000 in the levy limit to do this the first year, so it's another debt exclusion.
And the focus is to try to add more money to the road account this year if, on the articles that don't pass, right?
Right.
So,
Okay. I'll entertain a motion on Article A5.
I will make a motion on Article A5, maintenance and refurbishing of 11.58 miles of town roads for $2 million.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
All right.
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain.
Article A6, new backhoe in the amount of $150,000.
Was that
We
from,
discussed it. didn't
was that a request from Steve or?
Mhm.
Okay. And if I remember right, the water department's buying the new one?
So the
Yeah,
plan
that was
is,
the
the water
discussion.
department would like to, they said, well, we'll purchase the old backhoe from the highway department. The way that would work is they would put 8 to 10,000, whatever the trade-in value of the old backhoe is, towards the new backhoe.
Okay. So we fund out 150, but we'll get a very small amount back, but we'll get something back.
So the water department's taking the highway,
They would use the old backhoe.
so what,
It's very old, but they felt there was enough life left in it that they would do that.
okay. And where does the trade-in come from?
The trade-in value, I guess Steve will get that from, from whoever he's getting the new one from, he'd find out what the trade-in
What
value
the old one is
would be,
worth, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm assuming.
I'm just trying to understand. So either the
Yeah.
water department takes the old one, or
They're
Steve,
taking
or
the old
Steve
one. They
trades it
said
in.
They'll pay trade-in value for the old one.
I got you.
So whatever the trade-in value would be, they would put towards the purchase of the new one.
Okay.
What's the backhoe used for?
Cemeteries
Right.
was part of it.
Mm.
I don't remember what the rest.
It's used for
Anytime they-
a lot of different
Okay.
things, yeah,
If
anytime you have
they
to
need to
dig
dig
or
a trench, for instance.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of use, all right.
So-
till the old
so-
ones out of
So the old backhoe is good for water, but it's not suitable for highway?
Well, I think water uses it less intensely than highway, and they'll take a broken down backhoe.
there. Mhm.
Okay.
If you want to hold off on and talk to Steve when he comes in to the meeting, he's coming in next week.
next week.
Correct.
Next week.
That might be a good idea.
If you want to just pass on this article and come back to it.
Do we have to vote to pass?
You don't have to vote to
No,
pass,
we're-
just go to the next article.
You just haven't done anything.
Right.
Article A7, Council on Aging copier in the amount of $4,100.
How are they making copies of that?
They had a previous machine, they had a duplicator, which is all apart.
It's old.
So what's going on is the newsletter that they put out monthly was being done by a company who would go on and get sponsors.
Right,
Well, evidently, the company's been losing money over the
right, I
last
remember all that
5 years.
discussion.
Yeah,
So they're not doing it anymore. So now it's going to be up to us to
Go print it
produce it
in-house.
ourselves. So they want a better copier, a good copier over
Yeah.
there, so that they can produce it themselves.
All right, so does that just cover the copier, or is that covering like supplies for the copier?
And maintenance,
And maintenance?
That is, I believe, it probably, there's a limited warranty, which I can find out about, which would include servicing during that warranty, but I can check with Caesar and with Susan about how long that is. In terms of supplies, paper, toner, everything, it almost certainly, all those are, well, those are outside. Certainly paper, toner might be, I know.
might be part of the maintenance contract.
Yeah, but like I said, the warranty might include a maintenance contract like the first year, but I can find out.
I think we should find out on that.
Okay. So pass on Article A7. Article A8, fire engine.
I recommend passing it until we talk to the fire department next week.
Yeah,
Article A9,
same
same.
thing.
Article A10,
Same.
Article A11.
It still plays it.
Okay, so I'm seeing a theme, I'm seeing a theme here, so skip everything police. What's that?
I said capital
Well,
planning, voted not to
A13.
recommend A10.
Yeah,
No, A11,
A11.
motorcycle.
Right.
Just a-
I mean, I don't have a problem with, listening to his reasoning, but A13, the bullet resistant vest, that amount is always, we get that money back in the
We
grant.
work with a grant.
Right, so that one, I don't have a problem voting on, because that one was kind of the same that we've seen in the past, where we pay for it now, but we'll get the grant to get the money back.
Okay. Well, I'd entertain a motion for Article A13, bullet resistant vest for $5,000.
I'll make a motion for A13 bullet resistant vest in the amount of $5,000.
I'll second.
Motion is second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Article A14, reimburse housing authority in the amount of $22,507. This had something to do with insurance, right?
Charlie, have you heard any more about that one?
Retirement?
Retirement. So what happened is the Housing Authority had been told by the Retirement Association that they had been paying retirement for an employee who should have been being paid for by the town.
So, Dick Clark, who was the water superintendent, also worked for the Housing Authority for a number of years. So retirement was charging both us and the Housing Authority. It should be proportional, in the sense of based on the liability caused by him working there and the liability caused by him working here. What I think both the housing authorities and the county retirement agree is that the housing authority was paying more than they should have. I'm trying to get numbers from them to show exactly how much the housing authority paid because of Dick Clark. They had one other employee, Elaine Dolan, who was the housing director at the time, versus how much we were paying and then how much each of us should have been paying during those years. I'm finding it more difficult than I would think it should be, that, in my simple-minded idea of how the retirement system works in terms of, people work, they work a number of years, you look at the liability based on that because it's years of service, time, multiplied by their salary, multiplied by a certain percentage for each year of service, you look at what their gender is, you look at how many years they think they're going to live, and you work out what the retirement association thinks they're going to have to pay out. And here's your liability, and the cities and towns and the housing districts and everybody else have to pay into the fund to cover that liability. So I'm not disputing that the housing authority paid more than it should have. I'm trying to quantify, because as I said to them, look, I have no problem going to town meeting and saying this, but I gotta have numbers for you all, I gotta have
Right.
numbers for town meeting to show in fact exactly how much the housing authority paid more than they should have and what we should have paid.
So the next question I'm going to have is, what happens if somebody steps up there and says, well, what happens if we not approve this article? So,
I don't know, other than the housing authority could sue us, I don't think that they can sue us because we're not the ones who caused the error.
Right.
The retirement association, I don't know what would happen.
right,
Other than obviously, you throw some tension in there. I mean, it's a separate government entity. If we're looking, let's put it this way. If 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, we're looking for them to do something.
You lost the goodwill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's significant. I think it's,
It's 22.
Oh, no, it's not a significant
Yeah.
amount, but
I think
I'm just trying to be devil's advocate
yeah,
for
I
the
can't,
person.
that's not, I can't,
That's gonna say
talking
no
about
to
suing us,
everything.
we weren't the ones who caused the error, so I don't think, I mean, anybody can sue us for anything they want,
Right.
but I can't see
Right.
them.
And if they, what I would see happening is if they went back to the house, to Plymouth Country Retirement and tried to get their money back from them, Plymouth Country Retirement's gonna turn around and increase our retirement bill.
Well, the Plymouth County Retirement said, nope.
They said they
sorry,
can't.
They cannot give them the money back, 'cause- so the matter now resides between the two of us and see if we can settle this.
So the number listed may not be the correct number.
Yeah, well, it may be the correct number, you're right, it may or may not be. I'm trying to prove whether it is or
Okay,
not.
so should we wait?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I've talked to people at Plymouth County Retirement during the last couple of weeks and gotten emails and everything. And the person who actually figures the numbers has basically said, this isn't worth my while to figure
Yeah.
the numbers. So, I'm gonna continue working on it.
That's funny though, if they're not, willing to give you the numbers, it's like, I guess they're not interested to get paid.
Well, he's got, there's only, 10,000 people in the retirement system. He's not gonna spend an abnormal amount of time trying to refigure it on one person. So,
Okay, passing over Article A14. Article A15, Assessors Triennial in the amount of $18,500.
This is the article that we do every year for the assessors, because every 3 to 5 years, they have to
They have to go
relist the
out and
whole
look.
town.
Yeah.
So instead of going, trying to get it all in one year, we do a little bit every year so that we have the money when we need it.
So I will make a motion for Article A15, assesses triennial in the amount of $18,500.
I'll second.
I presume that's a motion to recommend.
Yes, motion to recommend.
Got a motion and a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Do you want to go there?
No.
I didn't think so.
Pass over A16, unless somebody's passionate and wants us to discuss it.
No.
Okay. Article A17, Truck Inspector. This is a petition article in the amount of $20,000.
And I'm not here to support it, I can explain it. I'm not here to advocate it. I mean, I would think that if you really want to have a serious discussion, you could have me contact that person, say, I'll put them in touch with Linda, and if they want to come in to talk to you all, then.
It has to do with Walnut Road, right?
Yes.
Yeah, part of the problem is that you got a lot of truck traffic cutting through 105 down Walnut Street over to get onto 106
Yeah,
instead of going
yeah.
all the way down 105. And they've tried things like making it like no truck road, but because the fact that the road actually goes into East Bridgewater?
East Bridgewater.
West Bridgewater.
It's,
Both towns would have to approve it, so this is the next step. They're basically sitting there saying that they think that some of the trucks are overweight for the road. So
Well, there's
look like
overweight,
they are.
there's speeding,
Right.
and then in general, we don't let
Yeah.
cops.
Right, yeah. So that's why they're trying to do this by saying, oh, we should have a police officer that's trained in truck inspections so that, I mean, I'm not sure how they're gonna determine whether a truck is overweight or
Well,
not.
you
you have to put a scale and,
Yeah, right, so we'd have
like
to,
they do on the highway.
That's why it includes equipment in the yard.
yeah, so. Is it that much of a need? I'd be kinda interested in seeing how many trucks go up and down the road and that sort of stuff.
Well, we've had traffic
There are a lot of them.
before, so I can probably find that number for you.
Can we see if, I think we should bring the petitioner in,
Yeah,
and it'd be good to have him in for the discussion with the police, just so we get the police chief's input as well, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
So you want me to try and see if they can come in next week?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And obviously, if not, then we can see when they can come in.
but then we just ask the police chief what his
Yeah,
take is on it.
sure. All right, so we passed Article A17, Article A18, grade all unpaved roads. This is also a petition article for
And
$15,100.
this is public and private roads,
Yes,
Right.
which we can do legally.
right?
And that figure is a figure that Steve told me he's already spending on grading roads.
Okay.
That's what he spends now. So what they're trying to do is increase the amount of times that they graded per year.
And also, they need to get the roller, I think that's what it is.
This figure does not include the roller, because
Well-
Steve hadn't had a figure for me
Well, it needs
for
to.
that. I know. I haven't been given a figure, so I have no
I mean, the
idea.
petitioners want what they see as the streets properly graded and rolled. Right now, Steve doesn't even have a grader at this.
No, it doesn't have a proper grader,
No, I
no.
think he uses the front end.
Yes.
Yes, he does.
And so what they want is whether it's Steve getting the equipment or contracting with a firm, that somebody, that we spend the money on grading and rolling those roads, so the grading sticks around a lot longer than it would otherwise.
But we need a more accurate figure.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
basically just twisted Steve's arm to give me
Yeah,
some
I'm
kind of
I'm not
figure. I
opposed to
needed
road
something
work,
in
but
there.
like to wait on that one.
This was to grade twice a year as opposed to once, right?
Yes.
This was to okay. I see. Is Steve coming in next week? I say pass over this one.
Yeah. New roof?
Article 822, new roof for Pope's Tavern.
Okay, still have not been given an actual figure from Scott. He was supposed to be talking to an engineer, getting plans so that he could get an actual figure.
He's coming in next week too.
Yeah, I think that I'm gonna be
Yes.
calling all the chiefs and Steve and Scott and telling them, have your articles, you know.
That's
Show up.
Yeah, and you're gonna talk about your budgets and you're gonna talk about your articles.
Okay.
That one, I
You might
mean,
even want to do the next one, because it's going to relate to highway as well.
Collection and pickup of trash at boat ramp and fishing area,
I can
6,000.
give you a rundown on that. So $6,000, that figure comes for what we spend on the dumpster at the school. So if we were to put a dumpster down at the boat ramp, that's about what it would cost to empty that dumpster on a regular basis. That's what our trash pickup service would do it. We had totes down at the boat ramp. People would fill the totes, they would overflow the totes, there would
And
be
then
trash
just leave
all
it.
around the totes. It was a decision by the selectmen to take the totes out. We're not going to provide totes anymore because it was more of an issue. It was a mess.
Yeah.
You would get debris from
So-
other
Is
people just
there-
dropping tires and stuff out toilets on the side of the road, yeah.
So, but nevertheless, you had residents who were complaining about trash down at the boat ramp and trash in that, what I call the fishing area between, just, you know, where some of the ponds, yeah, just north of,
Mears.
the south part, the north of
Yeah.
Mears,
Where it's
where
facing-
Yeah,
the causeway widens a bit,
Mhm.
people can park on the side, so I'm calling that the fishing area, and that was the other problem. And what this was months, it would have been last fall probably. I said, look, the only way you're going to solve the problem, and it's not really a solution, it's alleviating the problem, is spend money. You're going to need a combination of putting in the bins, or dump, or whatever, and having people go out there and visibly pick trash up. And you're gonna spend money doing that. If it's worth it to you, then you'll make a decision that way at town meeting. If it isn't, then, if the townspeople say, no, we don't wanna spend the money there, then that's fine. But until society changes and
Right.
people stop throwing trash on the side of the road, or understand that, if you're, just like you're out in the mountains, it's, one hopes,
Take it with you.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you want to
Then,
take town money? Or do you-
you're gonna have this problem. I mean, just look at this problem.
Yeah.
But this is not a petition article, right?
It isn't a petition article because I wrote it in response to the complaint. Or
So it's a
complaints.
complaint?
Well, it was a series of complaints, yeah. There was a discussion on Facebook back in the fall.
Okay.
All right, so this is what, and in the end, if the board, I don't even know if the selectmen will, once we do a final warrant, will say, Charlie, take it off. and I'll take it off because it's not a petition article.
Okay.
What's to prevent people from using that for bulky waste disposal? There's no
That's
oversight,
the
right?
problem.
Right, that's the
Right.
That's the
problem.
problem.
Yeah.
You put a dumpster down there, someone's
It's
gonna go
gonna-
down
Of course
there.
they are.
Yeah,
They dump
I can
everything
avoid
in
the
there.
bag fees.
Even,
and-
Yeah.
and it's, if someone's just throwing a McDonald's bag in there, it's no great shakes. If it's,
Someone's sofa.
Yeah,
or
that's-
just, they decide today's the day, I don't want to have to buy more town bags.
It's
I'm gonna
get
go,
messy.
or from another town for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
what's to
And then
stop
we have
'em?
Trash rates
so,
go up.
So what does it take? It means that someone, if you want to monitor it, someone goes through the bag and sees, hey, this idiot left their mail in there, which they do, because they're idiots. So we're gonna
We have
contact
found
them.
out though, we've had trash dumped in town, and they found out whose it was in Pembroke, and they, contacted the person. We have done it.
Well, my concern is, we know that municipal waste rates are going up, which means all the other people that are using, like,
I think
Duluth's and
that-
everything else, their rates are gonna go up. My concern is, people are gonna start dropping that off and say, hey, I got a pickup place and dump all this stuff free
Right.
of charge.
And there's no
Right.
Nobody
oversight
watching.
down there. So truthfully, a better use, I think, of the money would be to do a sign that says, you bring it
Take it
in, you
with
take
ya.
it out,
Yeah.
like they do in
Wareham,
national parks. and
Wareham does
places like
that. Onset Beach does that.
Yeah.
So, you wanna vote on it?
I'm fine.
You think-
Well,
do you
no,
think-
I mean, I'm not here to advocate for it. I think it's a waste of money, given the town's priorities. I would rather see, I understand society's not gonna change either, but, we'll just have to rely on volunteers to go out there periodically, like for the beautification cleanup day, and pick up the trash, or people do it randomly. And I think it's terrible that that's what we rely on, but I also don't think we should be spending that much money.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for Article 823, collection and pickup of trash at boat ramp and fishing area in the amount of $6,000.
I'll make a motion on A23, collection and pickup of trash at boat ramp and fishing area in the amount of, what is it, 8,000?
Six.
$6,000.
Looks like it's,
I'll second.
that's a motion to recommend in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstained? Okay. Article 824, crosswalk control devices.
Okay, this article is going to be removed from the annual town meeting, and it's going to be placed on the special town meeting, increased to, do you remember how much they increased it to?
30?
You thought so, at least 30?
Yeah.
They're going to increase it to 30,000. They're going to do all the crosswalks at once, and they're going to ask for a transfer from the remainder of the snow and ice money. So it's going to be on the special town meeting, so you
Okay.
can just take it off this. We don't have a special town meeting on it.
Yep.
Okay. Article 825, revision of zoning bylaws in the amount of $65,000. Did I skip one?
Nope, Fred had a question on
Oh,
this.
Yeah, did we find out?
No, it's fine.
Which I'll-
Yeah, I still haven't found out, I need to talk.
Oh, yeah, that question, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Whether A, this is in fact just stage one or not, or whether it would be the complete thing. So I need to check with her.
All right, we'll
I was dealing
table
with
that.
other things
Yep.
with her last week.
Because if we had a, 12722 cleaned up, I guess we'd have a lot less problems.
Or a lot less to talk about.
Right.
I'll
Right.
work on something.
Article 826, South Coastal Counties Legal Services, amount of $3,500.
I'll make a motion to recommend A26, South Coastal Counties Legal Services, in the amount of $3,500.
Second?
Motion is second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. All right. Article 827, South Shore Women's Center Resource and Advocacy, amount of $3,500.
I'll make a recommendation for Article 827, South Shore Women's Center Resources and Advocacy, in the amount of $3,500.
Second?
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? Sandy, this comes up every year, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's an annual petition article.
All right. Have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry. you're asking.
No,
That's okay.
no opposed, no abstain. Article 828, Conservation Wetlands Protection. What does LCC mean?
Okay, so this is, had been used in the past to allow Conservation Secretary to work extra hours as needed. We did vote it last year. There was, actually, it hasn't been used at all. That article has quite a good balance in it right now. Conservation has not decided whether to, in fact, I need to remember to send them a letter, a memo. But my recommendation would be that they withdraw the article, because there is a large balance in the article, in the account, but also because they have the right to spend money directly from their wetlands account. They don't really need to do the article to do it. So I am going to send them a memo with that. If they do still want to keep the article on, then we'll talk again next week.
Okay.
All right?
Article 830, folding chairs for Selectmen's Meeting Room in Great Hall, amount of $3,000.
How many?
Basically, this is because these ones are wearing out.
It was a
Yeah, there's a lot of broken ones, and I believe Scott's looking at something like the ones that they got for the all-purpose room for the town meeting. He wants to get new chairs for this
How many chairs we
this
got now?
meeting room, and also to be used upstairs.
Well, they're slowly breaking. The other problem is that the staples that hold the cushions in place are coming up through the cushions, so no people have torn their clothes on these.
All right, so would you consider it a safety issue?
Well, I don't know about safety.
Because, I mean, that's where I start drawing
I
line.
think it's what was the Super Bowl from?
Like, it's like somebody gonna get
Jackson.
hurt and then sue us.
I have wardrobe malfunction.
There were 120 chairs, if I remember right. Is that right? Do you remember the number?
That's between here and upstairs, that should be about right, yeah.
Yeah, so that ends up being
It's about
20.
30 to 40 here.
We get a better deal from buying in bulk, because that's why it's
And
$3,000.
usually,
Evidently.
I say there's 80 upstairs.
I know we're replacing chairs, but that seems like.
It's $25 a chair.
Do we need to replace all the chairs at once?
Well, Scott's coming in next week. This can be one of his questions.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Article 831, installation/vapor barrier in old section of the town barn, in the amount of $13,000.
Next week?
If you want, I mean.
No, I mean,
We talk about that last.
This is one that, I know that he had talked about the town barn last year too.
yeah, I mean, that's the
All the work that
question.
needed to be
I mean, we have new
done.
people, so you and I know about it, but I didn't know if you wanted
Okay.
to wait.
Article 832, sound reduction panels for the library, $6,000. I prefer to wait to talk to Scott on
I
that
do
one.
too, because,
And that one too. Didn't
yeah.
we talk about that
I
one
don't think
last
we
week?
have actual
no,
numbers
no,
for it.
it was just mentioned that Scott could do the work.
$6,000 was what he was looking for, because he talked to a sound engineer. Their quote came in at about $44,000. So they have sound panels, Jean Gallant, the library director, and Scott have been working on where they would be placing them so they'd be the least obtrusive, but also do the job of sound deadening.
Okay.
I don't know where the $6,000 came from exactly. That was Scott's number. But certainly if you want to talk to him next week.
Yeah, just see how the numbers
Yeah.
derived. Okay. Article 833, repair drooping floor on portico on Town Hall in the amount of $10,000. Scott is willing to give that up in exchange for the overhead doors,
Yeah.
which is the next article.
Right.
Right. So that's the balcony out here. The floor is starting to droop, and it's going to need to be repaired. But he said it could go another year. No one uses the balcony. The
Right.
only thing we have out there is the Christmas tree during the holidays. But
Okay.
he said it could wait
We moved to A34 first, I guess, then. Article A34, overhead doors for the town barn in the amount of $25,000.
And these are the ones that he's already done one batch of the doors, I
Right.
think he did 3. The reason why it's so much money is it's not just the door, but it's repair.
Yeah,
work.
the frame and everything, yeah.
I'll entertain a motion on Article A34, overhead doors for the town barn in the amount of $25,000.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to recommend the A34 overhead doors town barn in the amount of $25,000.
Second.
A motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain. All right, let's get back to Article A33, repair the drooping floor on the portico in the town hall, the amount of $10,000.
I'll make the motion on A33, repair drooping floor on portico in town hall in the amount of $10,000.
The motion is your second.
Yeah, second.
I presume the motion to recommend, right?
Yeah, motion to recommend.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any all those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain? 3, 1 abstain. Article A36, Uber monies, $291.70.
The state sends us money that they collect as a fee on every Uber ride that originates from town. This money gets sent to us and is put in a reserve for appropriation account, and we have to appropriate it to be used on road improvements, which would be wonderful if everybody in town took Ubers, but we got a grand total of $291.70.
So it's money
But
from
we
the state
still need to appropriate it so that it can be used.
for this, yeah.
I make motion, we recommend A36 Uber monies of $291.70.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I have one. Does Lyft,
Yes, Uber and Lyft, all of them.
Uber, Lyft, we're
They
not
all pay
restricted by
fees.
any of these car things?
Are they what?
We're not restricted just to Uber?
No, it's a state fee
Thing
or
for any
tax
one of
or
them.
whatever they
Ride
put
share
on,
service.
on
Yeah.
all, ride shares.
Ride shares.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? And then we have Water Reserve Fund for $50,000. All right, that's Article 16.
It's actually
Actually,
Article
it's-
6, so it's part of Article 6.
Six.
It's Article 6, yeah.
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 6 Water Reserve Fund in the amount of $50,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Just for the record, that $292 for Uber would take us 34,000 years to pay for those roads.
Well, maybe by then,
Well,
we have more people who
Yeah.
We're getting closer.
Okay, did we have anything on the budgets that we wanted to discuss? I think we covered,
The only thing that we could potentially cover would be the law. That we kind of just, we were discussing it and then we came to abrupt halt on that one.
okay. Which line is that? It's
6.
line
Line
6.
6.
So the law count voted in 2020 was 74-1. Fiscal 21 request is 124.5, which is an increase to 50,400. It does say hold though. What does that mean? What's that hold mean?
that we held
Help.
it for discussion.
Okay.
Last week.
Okay. So any,
So you can see that in FY19, that they spent 122, 135.
Last year.
Charlie, have you done any
Yeah.
of the calling around to see what was normal for legal spending? You said you.
Yeah, I got information from DOR. It's rough because there are towns like Attleboro that report no legal spending, which is absurd. But that's what the number the DOR has for them. If we were spending 130, we're considerably above average on a per capita basis. If we were still down at 70, we'd probably be about average. So I'm not happy about the 130 because what it tells me is that, well, in a sense, you could be unhappy. I could say I'm unhappy because it places us way above average. I'm unhappy, but I'm happy because I can point at the specific cause and say, if we can get rid of this situation, maybe we can get back down to average.
Right.
But right now, I don't see that happening because, so the ZBA, court case that is taking up more money than anything else. Like we've got other things, we're doing this, we're going to be doing negotiations intensely during the next couple of months on all the contracts, so. But setting that aside, the ZBA did approve the special permit for Amanda's Estates a couple weeks ago. The decision letter was filed last week. I have a second hand that the abutter plans on appealing that decision. In addition, the abutter has asked for information from the building inspector about building permits that have been issued for Amanda's Estates. And I know nothing new has been done, but I know Amanda's Estates needs to come in this week to apply for modified building permits that would be attached to the new special permit, and the site plan was approved by the planning board back in December. And the only reason that someone would do that would be they want to kill the building permits also. So we'll have, as you know, Amanda's Estates 1.0 is now going to be up at the appeals board. Amanda's Estates 2.0 will be with the land court at some point soon. So I don't know that we're going to necessarily spend as much on two as one. It may be that rather than start afresh, the suits are filed in land court. Land court sees us and say, hey, we remember these names. We're going to give it right back to the judge who did 1.0, and the judge is going to look at it and say, look, hey, you and you, give me summary briefs. I'm not doing another trial. We're not doing this whole thing all over again. And I'll make a judgment, which would obviously speed the process and lower expenses. So that's a hope. We'll see whether that comes out. Also, if you read the Globe on Friday, there was an interesting court case in Sherborne about the ability of abutters to, in fact, appeal decisions. There's no question that state law that abutters are an interested party. What the SJC asked was, did the abutters have a reason that in terms of their interests were damaged by the decisions of the town? And where in the Sherborne case, the abutter lost, where the SGAC said, so the person built a house across the street and you didn't like it because that land had been vacant. No.
Yeah, if you really want the details, watch the 220 ZBA meeting, which I just watched. And I keep talking about like ZBA confusion on stuff, and they're messing around with like, what's the difference between like a plot and
A plot and a lot.
and a lot, like definitional things.
Right.
And it's like, well, you can't do that because it doesn't say you can do that, you know. So that, I mean, that's where it goes back to 12722, where they already had a special permit and they had to make modifications, right, based on the judges. Right, so they came back in to get it, and it doesn't say that the zoning boards can approve they were trying, I guess some members of the planning board are trying to say like, it goes back to like denial, and so it has to go back to planning board and get a unanimous approval for that, which I don't think that was really what the judge really wanted, but there's obviously a conflict of interest on the planning board with one member being related to the abutter. So, and it didn't say they could, but it didn't say they could. I mean, my recommendation is watch the video. It goes through everything really good and you'll make up your
But
own mind.
on the point of the expenses, sure, we could get all the negotiations done
Yeah.
and not have to worry about too much next year. We could get the lawsuits done on this matter, perhaps if both the land court and the appeals court shut everything down before June 30th. That would be nice too. I can't anticipate that at this point.
Yeah. Now, we'll need a land use attorney also for the country club, right, just to review?
Yes.
Right, so that's gonna come up as well.
Oh, yeah,
For the 40B.
we're gonna be spending, I mean, though, in that one, that should not carry over too far into
Right.
fiscal '21, because
You have 180 days. See, I've been watching the videos.
it's 180 days, I can't remember if it's been stored, but yeah,
Yeah.
basically, into early summer, one way or the other,
Yeah.
whatever day you want to use, there'll be a decision one way or the other. Now, if they denied it, and/or if they or approved it with conditions that the developer doesn't like, then
It's gonna drag
continue
out,
to
because
spend
it'll
more.
go to the HCA, and then they'll vote in favor of the petitioner, because towns always lose, so.
So I presume the 124.5 includes the assumption that you'd have an Amanda Estates 1.0 event again, or,
Or 2.0.
2.0.
Well, we may be doing both at the same time,
okay.
because 1.0 is going to be up in the appeals court.
So it's looking for appeals, and then the building permit is 2.0.
Alright. Was there a lot of discussion last week? Is it worth taking?
It was, but we were just about to vote on it, and Gordon came in to do the school numbers, so we decided to move on to the school stuff, so.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for item 6 here.
Make a motion to recommend line item 6, law in the amount of $124,500.
Second.
A motion and discussion. Second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Okay. As I said when I got here, I went through all the recommended budget items, so that's what I was prepared for. Are any of these lines non-wage related that we can review?
I think they did everything. I think you did everything that was
That
level
didn't have to-
funded,
yeah, that
less, or even just a little
little
over level
above.
funded last week.
Yeah, there were some things that were like, it was only a couple $100, like saying,
And the
Or
rest
that you're
had to do
waiting,
with
like,
salaries
the police, the
and,
fire, and the highway.
Yeah.
right, yeah, the whole section there, we decided to
Okay.
wait on.
Right.
Yeah, this, we waited on schools, we waited on, we did some of the public safety, but police and fire was kind of waited.
So, I guess we'd take a vote to go into executive session to discuss monies available for negotiations. And start with you, Drew.
Yes.
yes?
Cheryl?
Yes.
And yes.
And the reason you're doing this is that said discussion about collective bargaining would be detrimental to the town's collective bargaining strategy. Just need it on the record.
Okay.